Unmute.
Oh, hello. Can you hear now? Oh. Yes. All right.
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to echo. Maybe not. Okay. Okay. Hi, I'll start over. Hi, I'm Kelly Barker with the Division of Housing. Welcome to the Coordinated Entry Sandbox. Thank you for participating in the vendor demonstrations for Colorado HMIS vendor selection process. As many of you know, there are 4 vendors being reviewed, each of which have 2 days of demos and sandbox sessions. There are a number of participants from each COC participating on site, and others are participating through webinar. These demonstrations will allow you to experience the database, and vendors will demonstrate how the products meet the community's requirements. This is the Coordinated Entry Sandbox. The 2-hour sandbox will focus on the features and functionality for coordinated entry. All participants of each session are asked to use the provided scoring tool to ensure each vendor's software is scored in a consistent manner. We're asking participants to be honest when scoring and score based off the functionality being presented. The evaluation tool has elements and topics to be evaluated using a scoring matrix. Excellent means the functionality exists and is easy to use. Fair means the functionality exists but is not easy to use. And poor means the functionality does not exist. There's further guidance within each tool specific to the functionality. The decision will be based on the combined scores from the evaluation tools. Will be calculated. The scores will be calculated to derive a vendor score, which will then be compared across the 4 vendors and will ultimately give the community the ability to select the most suitable vendor for Colorado. I'll turn it over to Rushton.
Okay, great. So good morning, everyone. This is day 2 for us. So today, this morning, we're going to be going over coordinated entry and the process that we have in our version 6 product. I'm going to start off with a PowerPoint to provide kind of an overview, just so that we're all on the same page of how the product works, at least from a conceptual standpoint. And then from there, we're going to walk through the product, and you guys will be able to hands-on enter in clients and look for resources available for that client, for the client that you have in the system. The reason why I said resources is because our system does not just offer units for clients. When you're doing coordinated entry, it's not just units that we provide to clients, but it's also vouchers. And so our system manages both of those seamlessly. So a quick intro, coordinated framework, and product demonstration. So Hearth, so before I even begin, I have to assume, I'm going to assume that everyone here is completely familiar with the HUD regulations, with the Hearth Act, and with the process of not only collecting data, doing a VI SPDAT, and putting someone on a prioritization list, but more importantly, understanding housing units and managing units at your facility. So that's the assumption I'm going with, that everyone is on that page, and so we'll move from there. So Hearth has some basic goals. They want you to be able to access, assess, prioritize. Thank you. Prioritize, and then show unit availability. And so what our product does is it ensures that we hit these major goals for Hearth. The first thing is access. So whether you're using a resource manager or using your own internal systems, you have the ability to either schedule appointments for clients for VI SPDATs and or do them on the fly. Those can tie to various communications in our product with customers, whether you're sending messages to housing authorities, messages for referrals, things of that nature. So the first thing you want to do is you want to engage your client so that you can prepare for your VI SPDAT, which you guys will be using for prioritization. Second thing is pretty obvious, is just the assessment. So you work with your client, you go through an assessment. That assessment will give you a score, whether your client is an individual or a family or TAE. You select the appropriate assessment. You answer those assessment questions. The system will generate automatically a score and allow you to put them on the continuums prioritization list. And the whole point of coordinated entry, again, is to take all clients throughout the entire continuum of care and give them a fair shake in a prioritization list so that we're offering units based on the highest needs. So once you have your scoring and your wait list, then you can simply, and the system will automatically show you the availability for that client based on their VI-SPDAT score, their housing prioritization assessment, and the units that are available in the community. And then you simply submit that to that housing authority. That housing authority will receive that information, and it would say, Russian's been submitted. We're submitting him an offer for this particular unit that you say it's available. What do you think? That housing authority or that housing facility has the ability at that point to say, I will accept that person. And if they accept them, that person automatically gets removed from the prioritization list, unenrolled automatically in the system from coordinated entry, and automatically enrolled in that housing authority or that permanent supportive housing facility. Or they can reject them, and they'll put in a reason why that person was rejected, and they will go back on the prioritization list. You will be able to see the record of what they were submitted or what previous housing they were submitted for, and the rejection and the reason for the rejection. If a housing, then obviously you'll be able to report on specific housing excuse me, providers. If they do a lot of rejections, then you may want to have a conversation with them. Or if a particular client is getting rejected a lot, then you may want to look into why that is. And so the system manages that. In order to have resources available, we're going to have to do a setup for resources. The setup for resources is really important because the system is going to automatically determine what facilities are available for you based on how the inventory is set up. And so the way our product is designed, and we'll go over it, you create basically a resource category. And that category allows you to select some broad topics. Like, for instance, this category is for all single males 18 and older without children, right? So that's the broad category. After you create that broad category, then you put inventory in that category. Now that I know I have this category, I'm going to put in, 50 vouchers on this date, and I'm going to put in 10 units that are 1 bedroom, 1 bath on that date. And so when we go through the product, it'll make more sense, but you have to create the categories kind of like a point in time, a report or an EHIC, if you guys are familiar. You have to categorize what that housing unit is, and then the system will automatically match what they can be available for. We also can automatically submit the matches. And so you can either manually submit it, and that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to manually submit matches. But the system also can run something overnight, and you can say, okay, whatever the system says it's going to match, however many resources are available, spit them out. And so the system can do that automatically as well. Any questions so far? Let me check the chat. Chat looks good. Okay, so we're going to go into the system, and I'm going to walk through it first, and then we'll have you guys walk through it. I see a couple of new faces in here, but just raise your hand if you have not been here in the last 2 sessions. Those that were are going to know how to do a lot of things, and then this way Roland knows who to focus with. So we have 3 people in this room, and in the chat, if you guys can just indicate if you have not seen a session yet, so I can just have an idea. 4, okay. Okay, so what I'm going to first do is the simplest part. We're going to assume the inventory is already set up, and we're just going to grab a client. We're going to go through the process of entering them in the system, looking at a VS for that, and finding the resources available for them. And so I'm going to log in to the system. And to save time, I'm actually going to be using an existing client. So in the product, for those of you who have not seen the product, but you are familiar with our version 5, you're going to notice some similarities and some differences. Some of the similarities are you will have a tree on the left, which indicates the pages that you have accessible. You will have your menus across the top, your file where you can change your password, your view where you can turn on and off the navigation, page information, or group information. If you have multiple roles, then you can select between roles. What a role is basically a group of pages. So if you notice, I selected a separate role. Now I have separate pages. And so based on your responsibilities, the administrator will provide the appropriate roles for you guys. The schedule goes to the resource manager where you can do the calendaring and the appointments. The reporting are the reporting capabilities. The dashboard is a dashboard tool. Tickets are for submitting tickets to your local administrator. If you're having a challenge, that ticket will go to the local administrator. The local administrator will have tools where they can manage any trouble items and respond to them and or promote those up the chain so that they can be resolved. And lastly, and I'll just click this first, I'll just click this really quickly, is messaging. And so in our version 6, we have the ability to create messages, kind of like Facebook. If you go in here, you can see, users that you have access to. Let's see, Colorado user should be in here. And so I can go in here and send them a message. And they would receive the message in the top right corner. And so you can message people back and forth if you need to communicate about a particular topic. On the right side, we have these disabled right now for the sandbox, but just so that you know what it will be when it turns on. Another link for your messages. You have the ability to have tasks assigned to you. That also ties to the scheduling and resource manager, the calendar. We have a question set for suggestions where you can submit suggestions to Adsystech how you'd like the product to work better. We have a library of all the documents, user guides, or any local documents that the continuums have that you need to have available. Maybe you have a consent form that's standard and you can just put a template here in the documents. And so you can easily access it there. We will have a set of videos here in this library, which will be user guides or tutorials to show you how to use the system. Webinars, as you guys know, we do monthly webinars. And so here will be the list of the monthly webinars that you guys will be able to participate in. A little what's new, just a little what's going on with Adsystech, what's new. And Ask the Community is a community portal where you guys can communicate amongst each other on best practices in leveraging the system. Any questions so far before we go in? Great. Let's see the chat. And chat is empty. Okay. So for coordinated entry, and actually let's switch to even a lighter role. If my job is simply working with the client, doing a VI-SPDAT, effectively maybe an assessment for housing prioritization, and getting them on the wait list, then this is what the system's going to look like. You're going to have one tree node. That's all you need. In that tree node, you're going to have tabs, and the way you navigate through the system is left to right. You start off with the account profile, and then you move to the right. Not every single tab is required. Some of them are additional information in case you want to collect it for your client. And as you get familiar with the system, you'll realize very quickly which ones you can just skip over and which ones you can't. Across the top, I want to point this out. This is going to be on every single tab. There are some icons. And so on certain tabs, there will be certain reports that are available, and that would be the first icon. The second icon is the scheduler. This is the same link here, which goes to your calendar and resource manager. The third icon is ticketing. So if you have to submit a ticket to someone, you just click the little button and we'll submit a ticket. The question mark on a tab-by-tab basis will be a help guide that will walk you through how to use this specific tab. And if you want to read it, you can just kind of walk through it and they'll explain to you how it works. And then the last tab are videos. And so if you want to visually see how to use a particular page, you click the video, a video will be able to download, or if you have your system set up so that you can automatically see videos, it'll just pop up and you can watch how to use the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to act as if I'm creating a new client. So I just simply, let me just close this, make sure everyone saw what I did. I simply click the add button. What you'll notice in our version 6, our complete redesign, we've streamlined where you add. Previously, maybe we said new, and save. So you're going to see a lot of consistency on every single page just to make it easier for you guys to navigate throughout the system. So here I click add as if I'm adding a new user. I enter in their name and their date of birth. And if that client's in the system will look for them for an unduplicated account. If they're not in the system, you would continue through and it would create a new user. And so this guy's here, so I'm just going to click select. Now, if this person was not in the system, obviously the contact information would be empty, last known permanent address would be empty, and the case note would be empty. To populate any of that information, if it were empty, you would look for either the pencil, which is the edit button, and you simply click the pencil and you can go and modify and edit those fields and save it after you're completed. Same thing with the contact information. You click the pencil and you enter in, the primary phone number, alternate phone number. This is where you can enter in the address. If you change the address, it gets stored in a history file. So that's why it says address history. You can look at all the previous addresses that particular client was. And here's where you can flag, where you can leave messages. I can leave messages on a mobile phone or on an email or what have you. The system, we have integrated in our product the ability to submit, just like we do in 5, you can send text messages out to the client. You can do voice to text where the system can read, words out of the product, interject that person's name and push that out to a phone number or what have you. The last part is a note, and for a note, you just click add. You would get the pop-up and you can type in the note. Adsystech has integrated what we call our dictation service. Our dictation service allows you to talk into the system, and it will write out the words as you speak. So you simply click the little mic, click start, and start talking, and it will write out what you said in the system. One note, there is a note type in the system. One of the notes is called alert, and so if you mark a note as alert, what it does is it puts this amber glowing light around the client. And so if you ever pull up a client and you see a little amber light, that lets you know that there's alert going on, and you can go straight to the note to see what that note is about. Also, if you put your mouse over the client, you get a tooltip, and then you can read the alert, really quickly if you wanted to see what it is. Especially if you're on a different page, you just kind of put your mouse over there. Lastly, what I want to show, just to kind of get you guys oriented with version 6 and the new features, we have what we call widgets, and those are going to be on the right side. And based on the tabs, you may have different widgets, and they do different things. Here, I have a profile listing widget. So if I wanted to do a search for a client, I can just click the little widget. I have additional search criteria as opposed to up top, this lookup. So here I can do a search with this lookup, first name, last name, an account, a customer ID, or social security number. And here I have some additional fields like a phone number or an account number or a file number. And we can add, as we go through this greater sandbox, we can add additional items for the continuum. As a note, I'm not sure how aware everyone is with this particular product. As the incumbent vendor, this product you guys will be getting as early as 4 weeks, but we're going to be scheduling with the various continuums because HUD has made changes to their data standards, and we are doing all the data standard changes on version 6. So this is a product that you guys will be getting used to and be using, definitely within the next probably 8 weeks for sure. Ask questions if you have questions so that you can gain familiarity with it. The second tab is, we have on this one, just an application listing in case you want to look up a application, if you know the application ID. So we added that as a widget. The final widget on the bottom is My Cases. And so here you can select the drop down for your program. You can select the caseworker. It automatically defaults to you, whoever's logged in, but you can switch it and you can flag, show me everything that's active, and it will pull a list of all of the active case files for you. And that way you can quickly move through your caseload and make it easier for clients. Okay, all that being said, and I know I've been wordy, technically, when you create a new client on this page, the only thing I needed to do was enter in the first name, last name, and date of birth, 3 items. So it's really simple. I went over a bunch of other things that you don't have to do, but it's there, you should know about it. First name, last name, and date of birth, we have a client in the system, okay? Second page, not required. So we technically can skip this, but we'll go over it. And it's just household contacts. These are the contacts that are related to the entire household, okay? There are times where, for various programs, you want to have an emergency contact or a medical contact, school, company, other information. And again, you simply click Add, enter in the information, and click Save. If you have information in there, you can edit it, enter in the information, and click Save. And the other thing you'll notice throughout the system, at certain points, you will have the ability to delete items. So if you see the X, then I can just delete that record if I make a mistake. And that's on any record. Again, head of household or household contacts are not required. So right now, technically, first name, last name, date of birth, we're ready to enroll them into coordinated entry. We actually just go to the Applications tab. On the Applications tab, you simply click Add. The program for coordinated entry will be there. If there's multiple people in your household, you will see them in the list. You select the appropriate person that you're going to be enrolling into the coordinated entry. You enter in your entry date, and actually that's as far as you need to go. The system will automatically default the program status, the consent, the case manager. And so you simply enter in these 3 items and click Save. Once you do that, it will create this record. Okay. I can edit the record if I needed to go in and add a comment. If I needed to add a date of engagement, let's say I'm an outreach worker, and so date of engagement is critical for outreach. I can go in and put in a date of engagement for this client, which may or may not be the entry date. These other items here, this will give you the application history. This allows you to transfer the application. This will delete the application or mark it for deletion. And this switches the application. Okay, so once I've entered in Rushton James, and I basically put in first name, last name, and date of birth, 3 items. Then I went to the application. I clicked the drop down, which is the program date, and I click Save. So I entered in 5 items, not a lot of items at all. I can, at this point, if that client was brand new and there's no other household members in the system, I can add household members here. And this is where you modify the household. To add a household member, I simply click Add, and I enter in that household member. First name, last name, date of birth, and so on. And I click Save. That house, and notice one other point. I can have a separate date for entry into this application for this particular household member. This date doesn't have to be the same date as the original client. I may have enrolled, I think I enrolled in June 1st. You see that on the right over there. And so this person may have joined me a month later. And so the system can recognize that. And that's critical for reporting, because in version 5, you had to always do these snapshots to get the rest of the family member and go into central intake and modify it and do a snapshot to get the family the way you wanted. In 6, it's much more streamlined. You just add them into the application. Just think of it as you have a file. You just throw them in there and you put a date, and this is their date. And then we can report separately on that member as opposed to the head of household.
Do you add them that note apply only to the person who's the note for, or would it apply to the family unit?
So the notes, and I'll go back to them so we can. Yeah. Let's get back to the notes. Okay, so the question is, if you have a contact and you create notes, does that note apply to that individual or to the household? And so here, when you're doing notes for the household, if you click the checkbox, which I failed to mention, household, then that note applies to the entire household. If you don't, then it applies to the individual. And the same thing with alerts. I'm sorry.
And how about for, there was a spot where you were able to do a contact with a date attached to it. Is that the same thing looking at it, or?
So the question is, there was a place where I could put contact with a date. And so this is the date of engagement, I think you're talking about. And so the date of engagement is a HUD data standard, and this relates to the application, the household application. For any additional member, the assumption is that date of engagement is going to be the same date as you put in for, if I were to add a new household member, it will be the same date as the date you entered them in, because you joined them into the household. So we're assuming you engaged that same time period. And we did that so that for additional household members, you don't have to deal with separate dates. It's less information, keep it simpler for the user. Okay, any questions out on the internet? Have you started? Nope, no questions. Yes, we've started. Okay, let's cancel that. Okay, so now that I have that client in here, and if I added additional members, they would be in there. The next thing I'm ready to do is to collect or to do my assessment or assessments. Depending on who your client is, and the case manager needs to determine that client's situation, you would select one of the 3 VI SPDATs that are in the system. There's the family VI SPDAT, there's the TE, there's the families, hold on. Okay, can you guys hear me now? It looks like the sound's back. Okay, great. Okay, so just to recap, after you've entered or not entered additional household members, you go to the assessments and you're going to collect, this is the time to do one of the VI SPDATs. The case manager needs to make the decision based on your client on which SPDAT to do, whether you're doing a family SPDAT, a TE, or a VI SPDAT. It is possible that that client over time can have multiple SPDATs rendered, different ones or multiple of the same. The system allows you to do that. Here you can see I collected a VI SPDAT, and so that I've already generated it, but so that you guys know, this checkbox would be empty, and I would just click the plus, and then it would appear. It would appear blank. And then I would simply go to the edit button like everywhere else, and you go and you answer the questions for the SPDAT. Just go through and you answer them all, and then click save on the bottom. Okay. Once you saved it, you have the opportunity to click the little flag to set that score for the wait list. Notice here on the right, we have the VI SPDAT score, the score of 17. And so I'm going to click another SPDAT so you can see the difference. Notice that this is black, the text is black, but this text is green. That's because I selected this particular one for the wait list, because they may have multiple VI SPDATs and maybe even multiple of the same, and I want to use the most recent one. Their score may have changed. So you need to flag. If I had a VI SPDAT and I collected a new one, maybe it was 2 months later, and I wanted to update it and I have 2, then I would just click the flag and say use the most recent one. And then it would turn green so that you knew this is the one that's being used, and with the score. This score here on the right is an algorithm that we're using in Southern California, and they have this calculation in the event that you had to do the family VI SPDAT and the VI SPDAT and the TE, and they created their own scoring. And so this can be hidden if the community doesn't want to use it, or we can have another algorithm for the community. But the standard VI SPDAT score is the first one, just so that you guys are aware. So once I go through the system, I answer all the questions, and I click Save, I have a VI SPDAT score. The other opportunity that you have is a housing preference assessment. And this again came through some sandboxing that we did earlier in the summer with Southern California Group. And what they basically have are some questions that relate to the housing units. And so certain housing units allow certain people to be submitted, or they allow certain vouchers to be submitted based on certain things. So for instance, if you're a registered sex offender, this housing unit may say, nope, you can't come here because we allow children or what have you. And so when we start setting up the housing units, you'll notice that we're going to have this same questionnaire. And so the system will be able to dynamically match. Right now I'm answering questions for Rushton. And when we set up inventory, we're setting up the inventory with the same question set. That's how the system's able to dynamically match if this person matches this housing preference. And so you would just simply go in here, you'd go answer the questions. You notice that these questions here have asterisks, so those are required. And then you simply save it. And so now I have a SPDAT with my score. I have a housing preference, and I'm almost ready to see what type of matches this client has. Before I do that, I still have 2 more tabs that are some required fields that we need to touch. So the next tab is income. Income is required to be collected. When you go to income, again, you'll come here and you'll just have the 2 edit buttons. You'll click the edit button and you'll enter in, based on what income source, the frequency, and there's just drop downs where you select the frequency, and then you put in the value and click save on the bottom. Once you do that, it will generate the total income. Notice I did weekly $200, and it does a little calculation for me for some income. And then it shows you the monthly, quarterly, and what have you. Non-cash benefits, it's just another pop-up, and you just check the appropriate fields and click save, and you'll be done. The last item is for coordinated entry, you have an opportunity as a continuum to require documents. You don't have to do it, but you can do it. If your coordinated entry process says, we require proof of homelessness and a client consent form, and you're not getting on that list until we get those 2 forms of paper, then you can set the system up that would say, you have those forms. In this scenario, we said we require a chronic homeless status form, a declaration of homeless status, disabling condition verification, and a consent form. And so the way I set this up is you have to collect these 4 documents before this person can go on the wait list. And so as a community, you have the opportunity to set what those are or not set what they are. But if you do, and let me just uncheck one of these so you can at least see the color change. You'll notice that we have a legend here up top, and it says not provided, not verified, and verified. So if I didn't have a file here that I uploaded, this would be in black, and there would be no information here. And let me wait. It looks like the voice is going down again. You're experiencing, please close and use internet. I don't have anything really unused. Can you guys still hear me on the webinar? Okay, great. Okay. I had a little note that said my sound was degraded. Okay, so the documents, thank you, April. And so here, this one says not verified. And so just because I uploaded a document doesn't mean I'm guaranteeing that this is the correct document. So the system allows you to verify the document, which is this little checkbox, and put the verification date to ensure that you've collected it. In the event that you're going to verify and you don't put a document, you'll get a pop-up with some additional information. It's going to say, give me a date, give me why you're doing this blank, this blank verification, and give me a little note why you're doing it. So we'll walk through that when you guys get to use it. And so you simply just put that verification in, click save, and then you notice it turns green. Okay, so and up top here you can notice it shows you how many required forms there are, how many are provided, and how many are verified. Okay, so the next thing we do is we're going to go to our verification tab. And this tab is used to verify that all of the requirements that we said we need to collect are stored in the system so that we can finally put the person on the wait list. Now, before I go and click this verification button, I'm going to purposely make an error just so that you guys can see how it works. So I'm going to go and just delete this disabling condition field here. And notice that this has a V on it. That means that the system's going to go check and verify that I collected this information. Other items have asterisks, which mean they're required to be able to save on the page. This is just the HUD data quality codes. You get that when you click save, and these are other required fields. You notice that there are V's there as well. So since we're here, I'll delete another one just so that we can have some issues. Okay, so let's pretend that I wasn't diligent and I forgot to collect some of that information. Excuse me. I simply, when I go to the verification, it will show me that I failed, the required document wasn't verified right here. And then it also shows me some other issues. There's some, this one right here says that the address code needed to be filled out. It was a fail. The failure type, which basically is the rule of the failure, is a stop, which means I can't move forward. There's other types of failures, i.e. a warning. And so here I set these assessments up just to be a warning. So I can still move forward. The system's just going to say, hey, you know, I'm just warning you, you didn't do this. And so this helps to ensure that we are appropriately collecting the data that we're required to do. And the system manages it for you, so you don't really have to think about it.
So what is the information that's missing on the warning for the PI scan?
It wasn't completely filled out. Yeah, I didn't answer all the questions. Some of them some I just were completely blank. The other ones I just skipped a couple of fields. Now, one thing that you'll notice is if you have verification issues, we have a new widget that will pop up. It tells you what the issues are, and it shows you in red what are stops, and then in yellowish what's the warning. And you'll notice that these little hyperlinks will take you there. And so I can go over to the household members and make the corrections that I needed to make. So it was disabling condition, and then it was the address quality code, and so those two are now done. So now I can go back to the list if I wanted to really quickly and do a quick check, and now it looks like all I have are warnings, which is cool. I can move forward, but I'm actually going to, let's see. So once you're ready to move forward, you can go back to the verification page, and now you'll notice here it said you can complete the verification. I don't know if everyone noticed before it said request exemption. And so I'll just do that again just to make sure everyone sees it. So let's just go make an error again. Let's save that. Save that. Let's go back to verification. And so not only do I get stops here, or down here, somewhere I got to stop. Here's my stop. But I have an opportunity to request an exemption. So there's times where you're just not going to get the information. Granted, the program rules say to do this, but your situation is special. And so you can request an exemption. We have a page that I'll show you guys later on that allows a manager or supervisor to say, okay, exemption, I'm saying you can be exempt for not collecting the information, and you can put them on the wait list. And so there's a page that manages that, which allows us to have audibility. And so if someone goes, why did this person get that housing unit? You know, they didn't even collect everything that they were supposed to. You can go and say, well, I have documentation that says they were exempt for this reason.
And are waiting for an exception to be approved, are they on the waiting list or they're kind of in limbo?
They're not on the waiting list. Yeah. You cannot be on the waiting list until your verification has been completed. And so whether you collect all the information and you click complete, or someone authorizes it for you. And so that could be, potentially it could be someone in your office, and you can, you tell your supervisor, hey, I don't have everything. Can you go and authorize it? And they go in the system and do it. Or if there's some other process that you guys have.
Did you have a secondary exemption that it goes to if it doesn't? Let's say the person's out for a week, like vacation, because right land.
Yeah, so then that's a matter of organizational management. If I'm not in the office to do my job, there's someone that should have the rights to log in to do what I do while I'm gone. So that would be your secondary, would be who you put in place and who you give access to that same page. That might not be something they do on a regular basis, but Rushton's on vacation, so Roland, you got to cover this for this week. That's kind of how it works. Yes?
What is the process for creating a client, say, who needs to be de-identified in the system, like through a lot one program, where say we only have a client identifier? Does that person also go through the exemption process, and then how does that get tracked?
Yeah, so the only difference is you wouldn't put in their real name, right? You would probably have some kind of code or algorithm. I remember I was down in San Diego, and I don't know, they used like the second letter of their last name, and they kind of put their date of birth backwards, and somehow they had an algorithm that they used that they knew of, and that's how they put in the name. And so you would just put that in, and then everything else works the same because you're hiding the real identity of that person.
So it would be up to the COC to figure out how they want to set that up and how they want to identify those folks.
The COC and or the specific organizations. In our experience, organizations were managing that. Like we had DV organizations, and they didn't want to have the full name in there. And so one DV organization was accustomed to, taking these algorithms and putting in their name a certain way because the case managers knew how to look it up. And another organization had this whole other method. And so the system can manage both. The organization dictated how they wanted to handle that. Yes, Bev?
Oh, I was going to ask about the requesting of the exception.
Mm-hmm.
So in the back of the system, we're setting it up as admins so that when someone touches that button, they're communicated to via the system or email, or how does that?
So the exception can be set up to a message for that individual, and so it can be done on a trigger, so that they would just have their messages to know to go check. And then this is the button. So I guess we can do that really quick. Oh, he's already here.
I was just asking.
Well, I might as well show how the page works. So let's make an error. And let's see something I don't care about. See if this one, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to request an exemption, right? And so it goes and sends it out. So I'm going to switch to an admin role. I'm going to go to the exemptions page. We have a specific widget for them. And coordinated entry. Let's just see what we have in here. And so here's the rule check results, and I can either approve or deny. Right now the status is pending. I can approve or deny it, right? So I'm just going to approve it, and I can tell why. So whatever, the reason why, you put it in and you go ahead and save it. And so now that when I go back, that client is ready to move forward. That makes sense? Pretty easy to do on the back end for the administrator. But if the intent is to ensure you're collecting information a specific way, which ultimately helps you for reporting, you want all the data to go in a certain way. Yes.
Can you set up the checks that it does on the save button within the pages to be more stringent instead of it allowing you to move forward? So with any required fields or any of the verification, do we have it set to where it doesn't?
We could do that, but over the years, we just keep getting pinged over and over and over again to, I want to be able to pause. I didn't collect everything at the, the short answer is yes, we can do it. All of this design came from feedback from users across the country, and to mitigate that, we created the verification. So you have the opportunity to pause. Let's say you're entering in some data and then the fire alarm goes off. And so you're like, well, I can't finish, so you run out, you click save and run out. You want to be able to save halfway through. Then you can come back in, all your data is there, and you can continue to collect it. Otherwise, you do one of these VI stats, right, which have 50 questions. You get to question 44, and then your internet goes out, right? Then you go, I got to do this again. So that's the rationale, the feedback that we receive. But again, the short answer is, yeah, we can say, click save, and these things, if you didn't do it, it's not going to save. Yeah.
So then you're saying that the verification is just a way to pause the workflow just in case you have to.
Well, the verification is effectively like the way the save button checked, sure everything was collected. The verification button basically says, okay, did you collect everything that you're required to collect? And until you do that, we're just going to hold, we're going to be on a pause until you collect everything so we can move forward. Does that make sense? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just a reminder.
Yeah, so the question was, and Roland forgot to remind me. The question was, there was two questions. The first question was, can we, on the save function, not allow a user to click save unless all the required fields that are indicated are entered in before you press save? And the short answer was yes, we can do that. The longer answer was we changed the system, because that's how it was in 5. We changed the system based on feedback from users everywhere, indicating that they wanted the ability to kind of pause their data collection in midstream. And so for an example, if I was answering a 50-question assessment and I got to question 48, and then I had to run out of my office, I would lose all 48 answers because the save button is going to say you have to answer all 50. And if I was too shy, then you lose it all. So what we did was we allowed users to save, but the verification button checks everything before you. It's a checkpoint that allows you to verify that you've collected everything that you need to, and give you time to collect everything you need to before you can move forward. And there was another one Beverly asked. And then Beverly just was asking for clarification of essentially what is the verification button? And basically I indicated it was a stopgap that puts the process on hold and ensures that you collect everything that the system is indicating is required, which is dictated by the continuums in order to move forward. And so when we're on that verification page, all those rules can be created. There's a page for verification rules. You can say what you want to check or what you don't want to check. It could be loose or it could be really tight so that you can move forward. Okay? Makes sense, everyone? Now notice the client now has the lock button, right? So the lock button means that they were verified. I didn't click complete here. It was done by the admin, and so it automatically locked the record. What the verification also does is it takes all of this information and it says, okay, we verified this all collected correctly, and so we're not going to allow you to modify that data anymore. And so if you notice, if I go back to, let's say, the assessments, the edit button, remember the little pencil, is not there anymore. And if I go to any of the other pages, all the little pencils or the X's, remember if you had a record, you can just click an X to delete it. All of those are gone because we verified it. We said this is auditable data, and we can move forward.
That can be said at a user level.
What can be
Now
said?
we can go back in and edit and modify data.
Okay, so the question is, can the editability be set as a user level? And the answer is yes. If I needed to go back, I can click the lock and it will unlock it. And then all that functionality becomes available. Yes, Beverly?
Is it just locked for this particular, what we're doing right
Application.
now? So for this particular application? So that's the first question. And then what happens when, for example, this client gets a housing unit,
Mm-hmm.
and then that agency goes in and wants to create the application for their program?
Mm-hmm.
Can they then go in and change things? Is the record not locked anymore?
Okay, so the two questions are,
By application.
one is this lock done by application? And the answer is yes. So on an application by application basis, you verify that application. You're verifying that application. And so I can be in this one application and have a different application, and that one is not locked because I haven't collected everything for that. Maybe that application had an assessment I didn't do, right? But this one, I filled in all the assessments. So you can, it's locked on an application by application basis, number one. Number two, the second question was, so if this person ultimately gets referred to a housing provider, that housing provider accepts them and they begin to collect HMIS data on them, will they be able to access the data? And the answer is yes. And this is, I like that you asked that question because we handle that really well. First and foremost, that housing provider would have a separate application because it's a separate program. And so just by the first answer, it's obviously another application. So they need to verify it themselves for their application, and they need to lock it for their application in that permanent supported housing program. But secondly, what our system does is when we get to the next tab, which is unit selection, and we find a unit for that client, and we submit that to that housing provider, and that housing provider accepts them, the system will automatically exit them out of coordinated entry. You don't have to touch it. They're already exited, exit date, everything. And that whole file gets moved over to that housing provider. Now that housing provider can see all the data that was collected. They can see the VI-SPDAT, the VI-SPDAT score, their documents. Everything's just right there waiting for them to continue to move for that client. And so we'll go through that in a second. Okay, so now that this person is done, there may be multiple roles for people working in coordinated entry. One role may be a person that their job is to get them up to here. Once I verified them, that effectively puts them on the prioritization list. I may be done with my job, depending on what your job is. So I want everyone to kind of understand that. So I technically could be completed. I could be an outreach worker, and my job is simply get them on the list. They go to the prioritization list, and then we have another team that deals with that, right? So now let's pretend we're the other team that deals with that. And that may not be the case, but let's just assume that's the case. So now we're the other team that deals with the prioritization list. So my job is I take the prioritization list, I look at inventory, and then I just start matching people and referring to housing, right? So if I do that, I would have logged in, and let's imagine we logged in for the first time right now. I may have all of these tabs available, may be useful for me, but the only one I would need is unit selection, okay? So when I go to unit selection, if I'm on a particular client that had a VI-SPDAT and was verified, as soon as I click this page, I have exact matches for housing that is available for this client. The system just does it. You don't have to think about it, right? You can see that you have the location name. There's certain categories. We talked about categories. Remember we said we're going to create these housing categories, like for single males 18 years and older, and then we're going to put units in it. So it shows you the names of the categories that I created, and then the program to which that client is potentially could be provided an offer for. I have the ability to pop open a map if some clients want to see where they are, and you can do the cool little Google stuff and take a look at that housing facility and see if this is a particular facility. This is the one right over here. So I have a kid. I go, oh, they got a little place to play. Looks like a nice place for them. Does this look good for you? I think it looks good for you. Do you want me to provide an offer, Mr. Client? Yes, I do. Okay. Do categories all refer to? I will show categories, and yes, they do, in the short answer. And we'll go over that right after I submit an offer. The question, just so that everyone knows, do categories always refer to target populations? And the short answer is yes. That and a little bit more. Okay, so now that I have these right here, if you see the little pin drops, these are units, but also there may be vouchers available for the client. So if I scroll, there's a different icon, and so these are vouchers, right? And they have a different category. So I can either provide a voucher or I can provide a housing resource. And that's why we call it resources, because who knows what we're going to have available. You need to be able to show it. There's also what we have partial matches. And so partial matches, sometimes you may have an exact match. And so everything that I answered in that housing preference, remember it asked, are you a sex offender, and all this other stuff. So if I answer those questions and there's a housing facility, I can have an exact match, and this is like the perfect match. But I may want to go, well, this, there's no exact match. Can we loosen things up and say, is there anything for this person? So then you can do partial matches, and partial matches will show you what is pretty close that we can provide offers for this particular client.
Last hour.
Am I? Oh my God. Okay, yes.
Can you do the matching the other way around? In other words, look at an available unit and then look at the list of clients that that based on your prioritization in order to match to that unit?
Yeah, the challenge is this, to kind of really stick to what HUD is saying from the Hearth Act. If I have a person that scored a 19, but I click a particular unit, there may not be like a perfect match, and so they may not even show up for a match if I go unit to people. But if I go that person, I may say, you know what, I don't care. We're gonna make it a little fuzzy. This person is in need. We need to put them in a housing facility. And so that's kind of the challenge, because otherwise you have an opportunity to skip people on a prioritization list. That being said, can it be done? Yes, it can be done. But our design is based on a prioritization list. Okay. Just a couple of things I want to show on this page. This shows you the unit preference. So this is what we answered for this particular unit, and I'll show you guys that in a second. And this is what the applicant answered. And so simply what I do is I click the little button and provide an offer. And so down here you can see now an offer was provided. It's offered, right? And so now I'm just going to go and submit this offer to that housing facility. And so now notice that got pulled off the list. So that unit is on hold. No one else can offer that particular unit to anyone because I'm offering it to Rushton. We're going to hold it. Now we're waiting for the housing facility to make a decision. And in about 3 seconds, we're going to go over there. I just wanted to show one more thing because we had on the can you provide more than one offer at a time? And right now our system provides one offer at a time because every offer that you provide takes that unit off of inventory. And you can't offer the same unit to two people because you don't want to get someone's hopes up and then yank the rug underneath their legs. That would not be fair. So this page right here, widget called roster. Again, if my job is just to do matching, I just come in and I just need to do matching, I simply go, I select my program, I look for people that are on the wait list, and we'll see what kind of data we have in here. So I have a bunch of data that we imported. Someone asked about how do you hide like DV names. So we actually did some testing. Here we just imported records, right? So you can see first name and last name. But in any event, you would simply have a list of people here on the wait list, and you would locate them. So let's just locate the very first person. They have a score, and it's sorted by the VI-SPDAT score. And so if my job was to provide housing, I would locate the person. The system automatically found the units for them, and then I would provide an offer. Then I'd go back to my roster, and I'd locate the next person in the list, assuming these scores are in order, right? And that would be my job. I would they're the next person on the list, let the system show me what's available, provide an offer. Yes?
How is that roster ordered?
By score.
Clearly, but there are a lot of 17s there.
I think the next thing is probably just name, but we can change the view if there were additional. No, this one right here is, yeah, it's just score. What's that, Roland?
Orange County did that plus the weighted score, which was an average of all the VI-SPDATs, whether they had different ones. That's how they came up with that second score. So it depends on how you want to weight it. And again, that would be coming out of the sandbox. You would say how else you want. What are the other criteria?
If you have 3 people that are 18, what changes? You know what I mean? So you would just tell us. Also, if there were a specific field in here that you said, well, this is the field that we make the decision on. You can't put an algorithm, but it's, I don't know, let's say education level. I don't know, just something crazy, right? So you'd see education, you'd see the 3 people, and then at a certain point, if people are the exact same, then a human needs to make a decision, right?
So we would request customization to the roster. Is that how that would work?
Yeah, we would just add whatever the view is. I mean, it's a real simple thing. It's not like this.
And can it be done by population type, or is that all mixed together? How does that?
So if you wanted so let's say population type is a drop down, then you would say order by score, then population type, right? Just like you would do in Excel, you do sorts in Excel, you do order by this first and then this second, and what have you.
And can this be exported?
Yes, we have reports actually that work better than trying to export this list. Yeah, and those reports have more information like how many days you've been on the wait list, how many days since program entry, and things of that nature. Yes.
It was brought to my attention yesterday that some people may not understand when you're saying it can be done through your sandbox, because this is a sandbox just for the vendor demonstrations, but we're actually going to be in a sandbox place with you guys just because we are moving to version 6. So when you say that can be done through your sandbox, you're meaning as our community is testing version 6 and getting ready to move on it, we're in an additional sandbox, not just through this vendor review process.
So the comment from eBay is effectively delineate the meaning of sandbox. And so for a lot of users on this meeting, today is a sandbox. And so they go, why is Rushton saying sandbox, sandbox, sandbox? And so what I'm referring to is an opportunity for the continuums to make customizations to the product. To be clear, because we're on different topic, I'll read that later. So the continuums have the opportunity to make customization to the product prior to rolling it out to the general population. And so we also call that a sandbox. Moving forward, I will just call it the customization time period for the continuum. So that's the difference between that. I have a couple of questions that mean HUD's requirements for an alternate database violence against, I don't know what I think Sean's talking about the stuff we were talking about yesterday. Yeah.
Separate URL.
That's a separate URL, Sean, so that's been taken care of. And to be clear, because we're on a different topic, the above question is a reference to, yeah, okay. Okay, sorry. I think I missed that part. No problem, Sean. Okay.
See that, Russ?
Roland, I mean, I show them how to use it or not. All right. So offers. Let me just open up another browser really quick. So now I am I'm going to log in at a different organization, completely different organization. I'm a housing provider. And I changed hats. I put on a new hat. I am now a housing provider. I work at Mercy House. But it's still me. I have 2 jobs. I'm moonlighting in the evening. And so I'm logging into Mercy House, and what I'm going to do is this one should have it. I'm going to look for people that have been placed to my facility. And so don't worry about all these the roles, everything here. The only thing that you'll need is this one page called placement. If you're looking at who has been submitted, remember I submitted an offer to this housing provider for a particular client. So I'm going to go here to this roster. I'm going to look for everything that's been submitted to me. And I get this list, and that list is too long right now. So I'll just shorten it. And so here I can see Rushton was submitted an offer to me as a housing provider. I can see the name, the gender, some demographic information about the client, income information. I can go and look at the assessment. I can see the score here as a housing provider, right? And the date. And then their preference questions and the date the offer was, the staff, and some additional if they're put in some comments or what have you. And so now as a housing provider, I can accept them or decline them, right? Now, before I do anything, I just want to make sure that you guys see this so that you know it's not smoke and mirrors. So the application for Rushton is in coordinated entry, right? And we have the application right here, coordinated entry, okay? So I'm going to go back to the other one, and I'm going to accept it. I'm going to, nice guy. We'll populate drop downs. That's part of the customization thing we'll do with the group. And so I can put in a comment and then click save. So now what has happened is I logged into Mercy House, and this is the program, is a permanent supportive housing program that I have access to. I accepted that person into my permanent supportive housing program for the unit that they submitted for. This client now has automatically been exited out of coordinated entry and has automatically been enrolled with an application into this program. And so if I go back over here to the coordinated entry one, and I just go back to Rushton, it should be empty. So now, gone. Why? He's in the housing, he's at the housing provider. And then here, if I just go to enrollment really quickly and find Rushton, he's right here, and he should have an application. There's the application. Yes?
Really quick, so you wouldn't necessarily accept that person in your program unless, say, that agency completed all the stuff that they needed to do to accept that person?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I just kind of had to fast forward.
Yeah.
I was pressured to hurry up. And, it's a little pressure. All right. Okay. One real quick. So it automatically enrolled them into the program, and look here. It has. I think we did the F. So here's their full assessment. It's already in this application. This application is completely separate. It's at this new facility. And it also added a new question set, which is the basic HUD questions that you guys are required to do. And then that's why it's not locked for this application, because you have to answer all those HUD questions, go through the verification. Then you can start providing regular services. Make sense? Okay. We are not going to, I'm just going to show it. We're not going to do inventory because I need you guys to log in. But I'll show you really quickly. Basically, what you do is for a particular program, and let's go to this program right here that we're in. Okay, so you go ahead and you just click add, and these are the categories. Remember I was saying you create a category and you put inventory in the category. So I just create a name. If I have a funding source, a description, you enter that information. This is a HUD requirement. And then you select the target populations. This directly relates to the EHIC. Okay, directly to the EHIC. Okay, so you click whatever's appropriate, or you leave it blank, which means you can take anything in the event that were the case. The electronic housing inventory chart is a EHIC. It's a required report. If anyone didn't know, federal report. In any event, so here I have a bunch of categories that I created. If I needed to edit it, I can, oops, no, I don't want to do that. So I created a bunch of categories. Now I do inventory. So I go over here to the inventory. I select the particular category. Let me click my program that I want. Which one is it? Which one is it? Which one is it? Oh, this one. And open to all. Okay. So here I go and I can simply either edit the address, and then I can either edit units that are in the system, or I can just go ahead and click add. And the add is easy. What is the date I'm adding new units? How many units? I can say 5 units. This is a furnished unit or first floor or pet friendly or whatever. These checkboxes are questions in the housing preference. So if I say that I need a wheelchair here, and then the client says in that assessment, I need a wheelchair, that's the concept. That's how we do the matching. Okay, so you enter in that, how many bedrooms, what is the capacity? Because I could have 2 beds in 1 bedroom in a capacity of 4. It could be like, 2 twin or 2 full beds or what have you. So you enter in all that information, and all that is related to the matching. And the same thing in the notice, it puts dates when that inventory was put in, so that we can have a historical record. Also, if you modify, if I edit this, that data is stored historically, which is really important, because if someone was allowed into a particular category, and then a month later someone tried to get in that same category, and that person was identical, had the identical issue, and they couldn't get in, we need to know why. And so you can see the historical record, and you can see, oh, Beverly modified the inventory and she changed, and we no longer accept, or we don't accept veterans anymore for some reason, right? And so that's available for you guys. Okay, so let's log in. We have 45 minutes. So what everyone's going to do is you're going to go into a browser, Chrome or Firefox or Microsoft Edge, and you're going to go to uat.adsystechdev.com, and I'm going to try to type this in there. And for those of you on the webinar, you're just going to have to, if you don't have 2 computer screens, you'll have to pay attention. So it's uat.adsystech, ADSYSTECH, dev, DEV.com. It's not case sensitive. Okay, once you do that, you should get to a user login. Okay, the user login is CES, C for Colorado user. Okay, we did this yesterday, so before anyone types, I'd like everyone to listen. So hands off the keyboard before I give the password. Okay, the password is capital C, HANGE, like change, me, and then explanation, ampersand, and pound. You can hold the shift button down, and on the top of the keyboard, if you press 1 through 2, 3, you should get to it. And so while you guys are doing that, I'm going to log into the administrative role so that I can unlock the account, because undoubtedly, like yesterday, someone's going to lock themselves out. So let's see how fast you guys lock yourself out. We're doing better. We're doing better than yesterday. You're already in.
There it is. CES Accuser. No, it's none of those. Yeah.
Is there a David in here? David, Vigil? Here. Jeff, are you in here? Jeff?
I get it.
All right, right side names. Okay, so
What is this for?
that is so they can use their user account, and then that's less issues. Okay, so what we're gonna do, guys, is we're gonna go to the, I think you guys only have one role. So just go to the enrollment tab. Let's go to the account profile. If you were here yesterday, search your client. If you're not here, if you weren't here yesterday, then go ahead and click add. Enter in your first name, your last name, and your date of birth. That way we know you're not in the system, because Fred Flintstone, Scooby-Doo, and all those other guys are already in here. After you enter that in, you can click the checkbox to say that the account, email or mobile is not available, or you can put in your email address and click sign up. Let's skip anything else on that page, and let's go straight to application. And so let's everyone go to the application tab. When you get to the application tab, you're going to click add. Coordinated entry should be there. On the drop down, you should select your name. On the entry date, let's choose a month ago. Let's not choose today. And then you can click save. Okay, so application. You got the room? Yes. Okay, so now we have enrolled everyone in the application. We're going to click the HACE members tab. We're going to click the pencil, and we're going to edit the data. And I need to get a client so I can do this with you guys. So click the pencil, and all the fields, populate everything that you can. Let's not have any errors on the verification page. So household type, household size, status, first, last, date of birth. Go ahead and put a social if you want. You don't have to. Gender, disabling condition, veteran, educational status, ethnicity, medical insurance, relationship to household. Don't forget on the bottom to select something in the race. Everything that has a V or a red little asterisk, fill out, and then put a check mark on the race on the bottom. And is there anyone not there yet? Find your person from yesterday. Type the name in. And click search. You don't have to type in the whole thing. You don't have to type in the last. Yeah. You don't need that. Just put search.
Okay, what?
Fine.
See, hold on. Cancel.
Okay, so try.
Alright, so.
Are you guys good? Is everyone good? For those of you who are ready to move forward, after you click all that information and click save, you're going to get a pop-up and answer the appropriate value. So if you put it for the name quality code, you're going to want to do like full name reported. For the address, if you have an address, full. If not, you can say like declined. For the social security number, if you put it in, put full reported. Otherwise, put something like declined. And for the date of birth, put full date of birth reported and click save. You guys, if you're ready to move forward, go to the assessments tab. You're going to see the SPDATs. Click the little plus next to the SPDAT that you want to generate. It will generate to the right, and you're going to look for the pencil. And click the pencil and answer. Now, I will show everyone a trick really quickly, which will help you out a lot.
The question real quick is there anything for the verification ones that we should do to make sure we get a housing unit?
No. I don't know, because I have some unit. I put in a bunch of units open to everyone. Okay, here's the trick. If you highlight the first item and use your arrow keys on your keyboard, just arrow, click tab, and then arrow and click tab, arrow and click tab, and just keep arrowing down and clicking tab just so that you can have some answers. Once you get to the radio buttons, which are the little buttons, you can go ahead, you can still arrow and tab. And if you do that, you'll have some answers, right? It may not be the answers you want, but right now we just need some data. I would arrow about 3 or 4 times if you want your person to be to have a high score, because those are going to be like in the drop down, that's where all the issues are. If you arrow once, then you're going to have a low score because those are the, like you're saying you're stable. And that's just in the drop down. If you click the drop down, you would see it. But just so that you guys can do it really quickly, just arrow and tab really fast. And then get to the bottom and then go ahead and click save. Once you click save, you should see a score. And then when you see the score, you're going to see some icons across the top. Click the little flag, and the score will turn green.
So is it just not asking these blank questions that I'm missing? When I say like edit, it just pops up like 5 questions.
So this is the little flag set for waitlist. Go ahead and click that.
Which one did you?
Once you finish your SPDAT, go ahead and generate the housing preference and click the little plus. When you get to the housing preference, I want you to look on my screen. The only thing I want you guys to answer is the second page, the 3 items, and there should be 3 I answered.
Everyone over there yet or no?
The 3
You're still in the SPDAT.
the 3 answers, number 2, 3, and 4. Okay.
You're still in the SPDAT.
2, 3, and 4.
Let them get. It's not like the SPDAT is short.
Yeah, that's why if you key it, you just answer it in like 60 seconds.
Let them get that one. That's right. All right, now hopefully you got the flag up. You finished your SPDAT, right? So it's critical. Click on that one. Which one you selected? Flag, yeah. When you finish the SPDAT, make sure you flag it for the wait list.
If your score will turn green. If your score on the SPDAT is not green, then we need to click the flag,
Yeah.
waitlist flag. If you want to move forward, some of you guys are moving forward, go ahead and just click the next tab and do your income. Just click the edit buttons and enter in some income.
You didn't do the housing preference, right? Okay, finish your income.
Where are we at?
No, just select one of the incomes.
I just meant to say,
Frequency.
I already
Now
am.
it's increased.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Only one. You got
Just
to
one.
put a number.
That's pretty good. That'll work.
And just with that,
Okay.
we're gonna flag it.
$1.
Sure.
Okay, so go back to the
It's
assessment,
in there.
because you didn't do, did you do the preference? Which is this one here?
Probably not.
No, that's the top one.
Yeah, you know, one of these things might be flagged.
And just say create.
Yeah, but don't worry about it, because you have a score, and we'll have the guys look at it.
And
So
edit.
do this one as well, this housing preference.
Okay, so go to the second group.
Okay.
This one doesn't really matter. So just
Okay, remember after this for that, do the housing preference.
So your housing
Just
preference.
go to page 2 on the housing preference. Do not fill anything else up. It's up page 2 and answer question 2, 3, and 4. And try to keep the beds low because I didn't enter in. I don't have like a ton of inventory I entered in. You know, 1 bed or 2 beds, 1 bedroom.
Where do you find the housing preference?
On the assessment page where you did the BIs for that, there's another assessment question set.
So now you have your That's it. Now,
And,
you did input, so you can go to documents. And for documents, just to
it's just
speed it up,
page 2.
documents are not required, right? I don't think there's any documents that are,
And then the word.
you can get past verification without documents.
Maybe everyone uses the same user account. Go ahead and click it in.
Don't put too many bedrooms, no, that's too many, just one.
Right.
I got a big family.
So this is just,
Don't
just
do
check
the
question. You can upload,
They
check
answered
off,
all of these
and
questions.
just put a reason why that you're.
It's like save, and it's like, answering them, please.
Hey, Roland,
And save,
you
yeah.
need to see what's going on. I don't know if it's because everyone's using the same user account, but they're getting, so if anyone's getting like a little weird thing on your questions, go ahead and select a different question set and go ahead and click the edit on that one and then close it and go and click the other one. I think that everyone's using the same user account and it's caching weird.
That's why it's like, it's like at least answer one question.
Yeah, if you get that at least answer one question, then go ahead, click the other assessment and then edit it again. And I think that should clear it up for you.
Oh, this is cash.
I think it's caching. Did it fix for you?
Did you come already? I did, okay.
Okay, remember page 2 and try to get low units. Once we've done that, go ahead and do income. If you haven't done your income yet, the fastest thing to do is kind of say no income, unless you guys want to type. For the documents, what you can do is you can just click the verified button without uploading a document, and you're going to get a pop-up. And you guys should be able to figure it out. That way you don't have to worry about uploading documents. See the little checkbox on the right? Just click the checkbox that you're verifying it, and then it's going to give you a pop-up and just answer the pop-up questions. We're basically doing a local exemption for not having
Select something, no, or whatever, select one there and save. Okay. So now you should go, you can verify.
Okay, so go ahead and check the checkbox.
See, you're good.
And answer.
It just takes you over there and verify again.
So that's okay. Because that's true. But you might have to
Do that for all of these so they can
Okay,
check.
you're verified. Right, you're on the wait list. Yeah, on the wait list. On the wait list.
Yeah.
Okay,
You have
then.
to do all of the.
Oh, actually, the documents, guys, yeah, you can skip the documents because the verification will only give you a warning. I forgot. So go to the verification page and go ahead and click verify, and you should be able to see. You should see the button complete. If you don't see complete, just raise your hand. Go to the verification tab, and then on the bottom, scroll to the bottom and click verify, and you should see complete verification. If you don't, then we didn't collect something. If you did, click the button, and you now can go to the next tab, which is unit selection, and you should see units. You may not see housing units, depending, because there's a lot of people on, so people may have stole all the units already, but there should be vouchers.
Well, you can request exception. Right, so we try to go verify.
Let's try her one. Oh, so what we talked about was when these pages here, we turn them on, it'll be a document library where they continue to upload whatever they need. And then, we'll have user guides there, but they'll
You don't have to
undoubtedly
do
have
documents.
documentation.
Oh,
I
I
was
see
just
you want to try to put a picture of it.
Well, it was red,
Verification.
so I wanted to see.
Because you must have put a note in there about alert.
Okay, so everyone should see units. All you need to do is click on the unit. You're gonna see a little hyperlink. I don't have one here because I already did something, but it'll say provide offer. There'll be a little hyperlink, here that says provide offer. Once you do that, you'll see the offer provided here on the bottom, and then you can submit it. Click submit. That means that it sends it over to whoever that agency is.
Here it is, right here.
So look for the hyperlink. Has anyone not seen the provide offer link? And if you do that, you'll see your offer here. This person actually has already been accepted, so I can't show you. But if they were just provided an offer, it would say, I think, provide offer here. And then when you click submit, it'll change to submit. And then if they were accepted, you would see accepted. And so now what you guys have done is you have put someone on a prioritization list based on an assessment and gave them a unit. You guys did that in a matter of 15 minutes for the first time, which is not too shabby.
Hold on, Russ, we have some people that are very particular about the unit they're putting.
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about? Oh, on the roster, click the roster, and then search. And if you know the person's name, you can do that. It's only coordinated entry, so it won't really matter. And then that's everyone. I have a lot of junk in there, but if you actually knew a name, and then you just click locate, and it would switch to that person, and it would show, yeah, see this right here is the score. Yes, that's the prioritization list. Now, for anyone that wants to check, there is the roster here, and you can just choose the status wait list and click search, and you can see any clients that have been put in the wait list. I have a lot of junk in there, but if you guys have not provided an offer, you would see them there. If you submit it, we can probably see some of the stuff that you guys did. Should be in here. There's a few people.
Can you show us what it looks like to print the by name list report?
Yes. Yes. I think this is this one. This one. That one. Do you want everyone, just a wait list, submitted, what status?
Whatever you want to show us is fine, I guess. I just would like to
On
see
the
what.
wait list.
Okay, so basically you have your application. Remember, we have a bunch of bad data in there. Date of birth, your score, the weighted score, that's that algorithm we talked about. Program date, verification date. We did wait list only, so you obviously don't have a match date. Submitted provider, we never submitted, so that's going to be blank. Accepted, that's going to be blank because we did wait list only. Number of days, entry to verification. The number of days verified to match. The number of days matched to submit it to provider. And do I have any more information?
Is there any way that we could potentially build in, like if there were outreach contacts or case notes that were added for somebody who had made contact with the program into that list, so that if we were trying to identify somebody, we knew what their status was?
Yeah, there's obviously, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this
Key
is,
question.
so
So the question is there a way to add an additional columns to this list in the event they, for example, had a note column and they wanted to read the note as it related to the client on this list? And so the answer is yes. Not only that, but you guys will also have the ability to do ad hoc reporting where you can do something similar and you can just select the fields that you want. Yes,
So I
Eva.
had sent you guys from the sandbox look that we had before, a pre-built report that pulled in like their last contact, which could have been in an outreach program or transitional housing or soup kitchen or wherever. Is that
Yeah,
available?
so Eva said that she submitted us a report with some of that information. last contact and what have you. And the answer is I handed that over to our developers, and they are upgrading the report to merge Eva's request, and there are some additional requests that we got from OC, which we think you guys will find helpful. Yes. But effectively, this is,
I'm assuming you could do the same for veterans if you could just choose to get a report on just the people that.
yeah, for veterans only. And again, the ad hoc tools will give you even more flexibility so that you can put your own query. You can say, well, I want this one for veterans. I want this for I don't know, mothers with children or whatever like the ECAC types, things of that nature. All that's in the database, so you can filter on those type of criteria. There's also a quick count report that allow you to kind of do drop downs and toggle some of that information.
So you had mentioned, there's in the evening or whatever, you can set it to where the system automatically matches people, or like what we're doing is more of a manual process.
Mm-hmm.
And in our community, we even do it a little more manually, where the reason we wanted the custom report is because we pull the report, take it to case conferencing, look at who's coming up on the list, what resources we have available, and then just go back to the office and find that specific client and that specific resource. And that might even be more of pulling in like the partial match, because maybe who was identified at case conferencing for this particular resource wasn't an exact fit in the system. So that would be the manual process we would then take, is coming in and just finding that resource, that client, and doing that type of a manual.
So Eva's question comment is, currently they have a process where they get the list and they have effectively a meeting to examine who's on the list and find the appropriate resources. And so she's asking, I guess effectively, how does that play in with our product? And so there's two ways. The answer is twofold. One, you can just run the report out of the system and kind of do the same manual process that you guys are doing. Two, my recommendation, and remember I recommended central intake some time ago, so my recommendation is that you discuss with us what are broad criteria, so that this roster list is in an appropriate order and that we actually see matches. And maybe what you guys would do is trust the roster list here and manually, every person that you click locate, it's going to automatically show what's available to them. So you can manually do that till you get comfortable and say, you know what, this is working so great, let's just run it overnight. So that's the direction I would go. But you can always run the report and do the same processes.
One option that then you can share with them, one option we're looking at even for Orange County is that the overnight will at least do the initial part, which is do the selection. And then they could then have a page where they could say, okay, I just
submit them or whatever.
Submit it.
Don't submit it.
Right.
In a group instead of by client.
That's right. So you're not doing one by one. This was intended more so in the cases where it was more difficult and you wanted to have a which you could manually go in there and look at it and then make a human decision. So they're looking at using both, and they used to do a lot of the same things you're talking about. So we took all of that and the algorithms to come up with a way in which we can automate. So you can automate 80 to 90%, and the other 10 to 20% you can do manually.
Okay. Yes.
So, you administer the VI SPDAT, that calculates, I've been homeless 10 months, but I've been, homeless 2 times in the last 3 years. That's part of the answer.
Mm-hmm.
If it's 2 months before we're looking at this person, does your system update to where now we know the same person has been homeless for 12 months?
In the VI SPDAT that you entered data?
Yes.
No. The VI SPDAT.
Generated saying, he's only been homeless for 10 months.
Yeah, the VI SPDAT, whatever data that you store in it, that's the snapshot for that assessment on that given day. That's how it works.
Is there a way to update that?
You would create a new assessment, and you would know what they were then. 4 months ago, this is their assessment, and then you would do an assessment now, and you can always compare, because that may not be the only thing that changes. And then
In your ad hoc report tool, can you create a calculated field off of data from the
You
database.
can leverage calculated fields in the database.
So you could create a calculated field in the database that would be time homeless, calculated time homeless.
Right, and then you would have that in the view that you can, yeah. And for instance, for this particular report, as an example, the one that I showed, well, it's not time homeless, but number of days or what have you. That's in there, so that would just be in the view, and tomorrow it would be a different number because yeah. The question was, can you create a calculated field in the ad hoc reporting tool? The answer is you can leverage calculated fields that are already in the database. For example, in this report, these are calculated fields. And Phyllis, yes, there are no reports under ad hoc for this session right now. The reports for ad hoc were for the next session. Eva, yes.
Are we able to set up those algorithms based off of either region or county or something? Because
Yeah, those views, whatever the views are. So the question is, are you able to set algorithms based on region or county or what have you? And the answer is yes. Those are just views in our system. And we would just, that's part of our development sandbox, right? And so those are specific views that you guys would want to leverage. And then we just, we just turn those up and make those available for you guys. Yeah, that's actually really simple for us.
Also, you may want to mention, we'll talk about a little more, the data warehouse, where they can do their own calculations if they choose.
And so Roland indicated to mention for some of the continuum folks, they would have the ability, the opportunity to leverage our data warehouse tools, which have greater access to the backend database. And we'll discuss that more in the reporting session.
On the client account profile page, I noticed that there is a place to see who entered an assessment. Is there anywhere that we can assign either a case manager or change a case manager if somebody gets accepted to a program, or identify a person that person is working with?
So the question is, how do you associate the case manager for the person associated to the application? Yeah. So if you click the applications tab, on an application by application basis, you'll see the case manager. If you go to edit, there's a drop down field, and that's the case manager associated to that particular application. That's directly related to the widget on the right when you select My Cases. And so whoever that case manager that's associated to that application, you can select the drop down if you have access to the other caseworkers, and you would see their caseload.
And so for my client, because that person has already been verified, I don't have the ability to go back in and edit that unless I go into the verification, unlock the verification.
Correct.
Then go back into the application.
Mm-hmm.
Change the data.
Correct. You're correcting data. And so verification, unlock it, which allows you to make modifications or corrections on everything that was previously verified. You make your modifications, and then you go back so that you can lock it so that it doesn't get interrupted for audibility purposes. And so the concept behind the locking of records is in the event that you run a report in your organization who receives federal funds or county funds, gets audited, and that audit says X, Y, and Z, they run a report, and they come back a year later, and they run an audit, and they say, run that report again. We want to make sure you guys are doing the right thing. You better get the right number, the same number. And if you don't, then we need to have records of explaining how and why those have been changed. And so that's kind of the rationale behind that. Okay, we have 13 minutes, and so I was given a list of administrators, which Roland passed that sheet out, which has accounts, user accounts. And so for those of you who have that, and those of you who don't, you can sit and watch. Log in with the MCY account. And all we're going to do really quickly is I want to show the inventory, or allow you guys to kind of see how easy it is to create that inventory. And so I probably should. So you should log into your super admin group. And we're going to look for the, oh no, I didn't give you the role. Shoot, I didn't give you the role. Which role was there? Can someone tell me what role they see, the HMIS role, what's it called? Okay. We'll just change that really quickly. For any of you who is going to be in the afternoon session, this is a preview of what you guys will be able to do with regards to groups and roles. And so I'm going into kind of the administrative functionality, and I'm going to go to a group, and I'm going to look for the super admin group, and I'm going to edit a role and give them access to an additional role that should give them what I want them to have. Which one is it? Maybe it's this one, General Admin V6. So if you log out and log in, you should see a General Admin V6 role. So MCY, R James V6. Super admin, and the role should be the HMIS admin. The HMIS admin role, you will notice that you have the housing tree. Okay, for those of you who have that, just click the housing program. I'm going to stop right here on the program listing. I'd like you guys to do it all under the PSH program. So click the widget on the right and click the PSH program. Is there anyone not there yet? Okay. Go ahead and click Add, and go ahead and create a category name. Name it whatever you want, maybe your name and then a category, just so that you know what it is. Right? You're going to select a household type, and then click some check marks on the type of population you want your set of. What we're doing is we're setting up a container for inventory that we're going to put units and or vouchers. And so that's why you'll use a naming convention that makes sense as it relates to units and or vouchers. And then you'll select the target population for those unit and or vouchers. And then you click Save. Once you click Save, go ahead and click the inventory in the tree on the left. Once you do that, you're going to go to the widget on the right, category list, select the organization MCY, and then select the program, which is the PSH. And then you're going to start seeing your categories here. Is everyone there? Is there anyone not there?
Catching up first.
Okay, you just simply select your category, and there's a pencil by vouchers, and you can put in click Add, enter in a date, and enter in how many vouchers you want, and click Save.
You also may want to mention the two kinds of vouchers, the dollar versus.
Yeah, well, there's two kinds. So there are multiple kinds of vouchers. And when you guys get full training, we'll delve into the details on how to set that up. We're
Here's about,
5 minutes, I know.
and so I passed out the survey monkey link.
Okay, and then the last part would just be unit inventory. You can just click the little pencil and click add, and then you can put the date that you want the unit. You can say you want, I don't know, like 4 units. These are going to be furnished. When you click furnished, beds become available. If not, beds are not available. And so I can say this is furnished. I have 2 beds. I have 2 bedrooms. Or let's say I have 3 beds, 2 bedrooms, and a capacity of 4 people. And then you put the date that unit's available, and you click save. You can go and edit it. You can give it some unit IDs. You can save it and close it out. And so now those units are available, and you can see the units up top. Now that we've created a category for that, oh, you know what I forgot to do, Mel? I did. Yeah. One thing that I forgot to do, guys, hate to do this to you, but if we go back to the housing program, on the category that you named, you'll see your category name, and you'll see, the information that you clicked. You'll see the little edit button, and then right to the next of it, you're going to see a queue. A queue is for the question set. And so that housing preference that we asked for the end user, this is it here. And so you're associating that to the categories of resources you're making available. So you could just go in here and answer the questions and go to the second page and answer the questions. Just so you know, this question set can be customizable. It will be customizable, I'm pretty sure, for the continuums here. This is just, a sample. And so some of these you're going to want to look at because you're probably going to want HIV, AIDS, chronically homeless, domestic violence. There may be a couple of other things that you may want to add and or remove. So once you do that, then you would go to the inventory, and it's okay to do it afterwards. And you enter in that inventory, and now that inventory based on that date is available. And if you were to log back into coordinated entry and you took a client, your client, if they match that resource, you would see that resource available.
Does your matching, like from the client to the
Unit
survey, does it have to be exactly the same survey, or can it pull data from like somewhere else that you have in the client record?
No, for it to operate very fast from a database perspective, we use the exact same one. Because if you start creating these crazy views and then you start putting a lot of inventory in there and then you have this huge waiting list, the system will just drag down and it just won't work well. What we've done is they created the preference that they asked, where they have asked this question for the client, and then this is the corresponding question for the provider.
Right.
So it's the same question set, so that it's the same answer, so that matches. I mean, you see how fast those matches come on unit selection.
Also mention that we do look at demographics, household size, and other things.
And so one more comment is that in the match, there are some additional things that we look at. We look at demographics, household size, to accelerate that match, or to be able to do the match. We have a couple of minutes left. Questions? Okay, so basically what, my final thoughts toward this is, one of the things that everyone wants to remember is that on all the tabs, if you ever get a little lost or anything, click the little question mark, and it will guide you a little step-by-step how to do it. It'll also remind you of some things that you may forget, and so always remember to do that. And take the time at some point to look through all the little videos so that you can get a different perspective, and they'll walk you through how to use a product. but it's pretty straightforward. Basically, account profile, application, assessment, income, verify, and they get a unit. Okay? And it is, we have 2 more minutes. I will wait the 2 minutes and then I will end this session because we have a session starting in 2 minutes.
With mandatory
Okay.
break.
All right, so I'm going to kill this session. For anyone that's going to be in the next one, it's a great time to run the restroom. Thank you guys who are on the GoToMeeting.